Tell me why you don't want to have a partner in life. Tell me why.
Here is the part 2 of the video I posted yesterday. Men are really getting pissed off. They are not happy. I understand their pain, like what they are going through when they get married. It's better they are single. But for me not to keep on judging, let's dive into it together.
That I'm done, but I can wholeheartedly say the content I chose to consume over the last couple of years around dating and relationships, spouted by men online.
It's a woman's nature to never be satisfied.
Women can't love you, bro.
She's always going to be looking at you saying, is this the best I can do?
Hasn't exactly motivated me and inspired me to want to get myself out there.
The woman does not care if you are happy in the relationship.
There is no such thing as a good girl.
I developed trust issues.
As long as she gets what she wants out of the relationship, your feelings are inconsequential to her.
Became more skeptical of women.
The only difference between a good girl and a bad girl is that the good girls ain't been caught yet.
Which didn't come from my experiences with women, it came from consuming content like this.
You are delusional if you think that your girlfriend doesn't have a backup guy or multiple backup guys.
The entire rhetoric around pursuing, dating, relationships, or even marriage is entirely negative and cynical.
The reason why women initiate divorce breakups on an overwhelming level is because they think the grass is always greener on the other side.
The narrative that's painted is that women are incapable of taking responsibility for their actions.
If a man cheats, he's a piece of shit. If a woman cheats, a man's a piece of shit because he failed to meet her needs.
And don't take any accountability for their behavior either.
Him, he can't control himself and he's an animal. A woman, she's on a journey of self-discovery and she had to find the truth of what's in her heart.
Maybe I innocently searched up something about women or dating and it wasn't long before I was sucked down the rabbit hole.
You are responsible for her happiness, not her, because they are not accountable.
That even if you believe in yourself to be a good man and wish to do good in the world, because it makes you feel good,
Women are going to betray you.
that doesn't fucking matter.
It's a fact of life.
No matter what transpires, it's always your fault as a man.
Something goes wrong in the relationship, it's your fault. Whether or not you can control it or not, you still have to take responsibility.
Even though you did everything you could do to prevent it, it's your fault. Even though you've been the best husband in the world, even though you've been every checklist that she had on that checklist board, even though you Superman, it's still your fault. Damn, that's female nature for you. And they can still stay the same because it's your fault. They can never take accountability for their actions.
That women don't care about who you are as a man, they only care about what you provide them.
All women are fucking gold diggers.
Which is just money and resources.
Some are just better at hiding the fucking shovel.
All you end up doing is keeping women that you're romantically involved with at a safe distance.
Women will only like you for what you could provide for them.
If you have your doubts about being able to offer women anything, you become less inclined to want to pursue it and give it a try.
They will only see like how much water can they take from your well. And if that well dries up, they're going to leave.
And I will admit, it's very easy to have tunnel vision and have your blinders on.
She's not your girl, it's just your turn.
If you're continuously hearing the same message over and over again.
No woman on this planet wants to settle for a man that they feel like they could do better.
Which is why it's been incredibly beneficial for me to hear the perspective from other people outside of this male space. The stuff I've learned from women's perspective has been eye-opening and beneficial. But even the viewpoints from the men outside of this space that have showcased to me the types of characteristics of the type of man I wish to aspire to be.
And unfortunately, a lot of these women feel like you are not their best option.
I'd rather not be an option at all.
That's why there's women that will not feel bad that they leave you and cheat on you.
Then experience the heartbreak that I will inevitably experience, according to this rhetoric, which has just led me to emotionally shut down and disassociate.
Because at the end of the day, you just aren't her best option.
In hindsight, I wouldn't say that I'm done, because to be honest, I really haven't given it a fair crack.
Never have that kind of relationship in a world where you're always afraid to take the first step, because all you see is every negative thing 10 miles down the road.
And this doesn't just play out in my romantic relationships, it leaks out into other areas of my life too.
Why are so many guys single today?
I struggle with all the pressure and hitting the mark.
Because they suck.
Struggling to meet this apparent expectation to become above average.
Dude, the average guy is shit.
I have to strive to become the best version of myself just for a chance or an opportunity to be considered as an option for a woman who by this rhetoric is just going to use me anyway.
Women can't love you.
This video is just to paint a picture, to show how I ended up thinking the way I did, how I'm trying to head in a better direction. And I don't want to have a negative view on women because it's not fair to them. None of it makes me feel good. I don't want to be single for the rest of my life, but I don't necessarily have a plan of action. Maybe it just starts with this video as some sort of acknowledgement. I dug myself into this hole and that's my fault, and it's 100% my responsibility to climb and find my way out of it.
Well, ma'am, part of the answer to your question is the question itself. That's where the disconnect is.
you assume because these men are saying that they don't necessarily want a relationship with these modern American women, that they wouldn't want a relationship at all. And that's not exactly what these men are saying. Now, sure, they may not fully articulate it in the way I'm going to articulate it for you right now, but rest assured, this is the thought pathology, if you will. The modern American woman has essentially either one, made herself obsolete within relationship, or has made herself so insufferable or so intolerable in relationship that the men have essentially lost interest. Now, allow me to clarify. When I say that these women have made themselves obsolete, they have habitually told men across the ethnic spectrum that they have no desire to actually be partners, but instead want to be dependents. They expect men to provide for them, to protect them, to give them all the benefits of a historically gender normative relationship. Or in other words, they expect men to hold up their end of the bargain of adhering to traditional ideas of what a man is supposed to do. However, the women don't want to do the same. Everything that a man would essentially seek from a woman in terms of the traditional relationship, these women say that they have no desire to fulfill or do. They don't want to cook. They don't want to clean. They barely even want to take care of their own children. And then when we talk about sexual relations, well, that winds up being a huge contradiction, because while they insist upon not being sexually objectified, the one thing they do the most is sexually objectify themselves, seeking sexualized attention. Go figure. Then, if we're talking about being insufferable or intolerable, the idea that this is how women even approach relationship, with this one-sided ideology, there's nothing beneficial about that. If anything, that in itself has de-incentivized relationship with them. And we're not even talking about bringing the state into this, where so many American women have misused and abused the marital system, particularly getting divorced. So many American women have misused divorce as a financial boon or come up. And one of the responses that these women will frequently give is, well, if the man is not rich, well, how can he suffer so heavily? Well, that's kind of in the response itself as well. Because just because a man isn't necessarily affluent or well off, it doesn't mean that he needs his money any less. If anything, he needs his money that much more. And if these women are misusing the marital process or divorce proceedings to exploit these men for financial gain, then if these men aren't making that much money, they are crippling these men. So that said, if the options that are presented to a man are, one, get married to an American woman, or two, remain alone in isolation, well, remaining alone in isolation has now become the lesser of the two evils. Simultaneously, that lesser evil that I just mentioned is now being seen as not quite so bad. If anything, it seems to be somewhat freeing, especially when you factor in the fact that modern women's preferences in terms of dating really hasn't changed that much. I mean, they still seem to seek out men with aesthetic handsomeness, high levels of sexual proficiency, and this is the great equalizer, a great financial portfolio. And when you factor that in, along with this new climate of anti-slut shaming, where apparently American women want to be seen as somewhat praiseworthy for their faddish or slutty behavior, that they will approach relationship much like the common prostitute or gold digger. Well, now men with money, they find it hard to distinguish women of supposed honor and grace and good home training with this new generation of women who only seem to be interested in either carrying themselves or portraying themselves much in the same vein as the common prostitute. So much so that there's just really no difference. And if you haven't heard the old adage, well, let me introduce you to it. Men don't pay prostitutes to come. They pay them to leave. Or in other words, if the modern American woman can be comparable to the common garden variety prostitute, which apparently they may be, then there's really no incentive for the men to even entertain a relationship with these women, much less seek out a marital relationship with these women. And to this end, that's why the passport bro movement has become so prolific. Because if you notice, those men who identify with being passport bros, they're still talking about getting married. So no, they're not too focused on isolation, and they most certainly aren't saying that they don't want a life partner. If anything, they have made a resounding response that has signified their perception of the American woman as being either counter to or ineligible for that type of relationship. And sure, we can go back and forth with this same argument where these ladies will claim that they didn't know, or they want another chance, or maybe even try to double down and claim that they aren't the women that as plain as we can see them as truly being. But nevertheless, the men are no longer interested in even having that dumb conversation. We don't want that back and forth. We don't see the utility in it. If anything, we see it as a futile conversation with relatively immature or intellectually bereft women who only seem to want to beat us down even further with their bipolar temper tantrums. Now, to be fair, there are plenty of American women who don't practice that particular ideology, who do hold themselves to a higher standard, who truly are ladies. But here's the rub. It is too hard, or rather, not necessarily worth the time and effort to try to sift through all these other women like a prospector might sift through sand to find gold, with all this pyrite and sand and gravel and all that muck in the mist. We don't want to waste our time with that. So instead, these men, many of them, have either resigned themselves to marrying outside of this particular culture, or simply enjoying the freedom that comes from not necessarily being beholden or responsible to one particular woman. They can save their assets. They don't have to worry about the state getting involved and trying to give away half of their assets just because one of these ladies enters a relationship with them and tells them on some magical day that she has lost interest or she's unhappy. No, these men can go on, continue building up their kingdoms, continue living their lives unobstructed, and living in the peace that they continuously keep telling you that they want to have. So the fact that they say that they want peace, and for whatever reason, you, the lady who made this video, has disregarded that apparently, that is also part of the problem. And that's also part of the reason, because as these men are saying exactly what it is that they want and need and desire, you ladies continuously ignore it. Oh well.
Don't forget to leave your opinion down below what you think, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on notification. Anytime I upload, you will be notified. Stay blessed and bye-bye.